Taking a peek at the steering wheel as well as the cluster screen inside of the Hyundai Sonata. Now, first thing I'm going to point out is that there are technically two different style screens that are available. It's either going to be this one. They're both technically the same size, but in the smaller screen. This is the only part that's adjustable, the little box, versus in the larger screen. Pretty much the full screen itself will be adjustable, but they're going to have very similar functionality regardless. The steering wheel inside of the Sonata is going to be a manual telescoping. So just down by your left knee, there's a release there, and just go in, out, up and down to find that perfect position. Once you do, click it, lock it back into place. Now let's go through all of the different buttons in stock. So we'll start off the stick on the left-hand side. So you can use that in order to adjust what light mode that you're in. I normally recommend just keeping yourself in the auto mode. And the big reason why is because if you're in the auto mode and the vehicle recognizes that you need the high beams, it's automatically going to turn them on. If somebody's oncoming, it's going to dim them before bringing them right back on again. And that's the same way with your regular running lamps as well. So it's automatically going to turn them on or off as necessary. If you want to have your high beams permanently locked out, go into the top mode there and then push away in order to flash your high beams, pull towards you in order to turn them off. But yeah, like I said, realistically, just being in the auto mode is the best bet. From there, the stick on the right-hand side is going to be for your windshield wipers. So very easy to adjust there. If you go into intermittent mode, you could then adjust up and down this way in order to be able to jump between your different wiper speeds for the intermittent mode. Or just go high for one of your other modes there instead. You're going to pull towards you for that front wiper fluid. And this car also has paddle shifters. So it's your minus on the left-hand side, plus on the right-hand side. So that lets you change out gears as necessary. If you want a full walkthrough on how paddle shifters actually work and when you want to use them, you'll find a walkthrough down in the description of this video. And then the other one that you may not necessarily be able to see is the stick on the right-hand side on the bottom, and that's your gear shifter. So you've got your drive, neutral, reverse, and then park. So in order to use it, so foot on the brake, all the way up for drive, down for neutral, all the way back for reverse. And then you can also hit the little P button there to put yourself in park. But one cool thing is that if you are in any gear, so reverse, neutral, drive, etc., if you turn the car off, automatically throws you in park, which is pretty neat. Honestly, it takes a little bit of time to get used to it, but once you do, it's a really good system. Then when you're in reverse, the side view mirrors also have the option to tilt backwards, or I guess technically tilt down, for you to see what's going on beside you as well, which is kind of nice. But outside of that, there are a series of different buttons available. So you've got your voice command prompt, and as of right now, it's saying that it's only good for Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, and that's because of the setup that we've got for the screen itself. So when you get into the higher trim levels, you're going to have factory navigation, and then this button would also double as a voice assistant for you to do things like change songs, radio stations, navigate using your voice. But with this other option, you push that, so no navigation option. That's strictly going to be for your Google or your Siri assistant. So you obviously have to be hooked up through your phone to make that work. But if you want to walk through on how to actually set up a phone to use that function and use the infotainment system, you'll find it down in the description of this video. There's a volume rocker here, so you can go up and down that way. You can push in the middle in order to be able to mute audio as well. You can answer or hang up a phone call, and then there are two unique buttons here. And the mode buttons let you do a ton of different things. So do you want to switch between all of your different audio sources? So if you tend to listen to AM, FM, Sirius XM, USB music, etc., you can press that button in order to adjust between all of your different sources. And then you've got another custom button there that lets you do a few other things. So do you want to do quiet mode, turn the media off, go to your home screen, and things like that. So you've got the flexibility of adjusting what these modes do. And then you've got this little switch on top of that. And this one, so if we go into our media for a second, and let's click on. All right, so if we go up and down this way, you can see that you're jumping between all of your available presets. So very straightforward there. And just back to our basic home screen instead. And then from there, you've got a series of different buttons along the left-hand side, and that's going to be for a few different things. So you've got the buttons here are going to be for your smart cruise control system. This one's going to be your lane follow assist. So the lane follow assist is a great one. Once it's going, you've got a little steering wheel there that's going to go green, and it's going to keep you perfectly balanced in your lane. When you use it tandem with the adaptive cruise control system, really solid. So you'd turn the system on this way, and then once you get to speed, you'd push up to set your speed, increase or decrease 1 kilometer, 1 mile per hour at a time, cancel temporarily or resume your previously set speed. And then you've got a distance indicator. So it's how close or far are you away from the vehicle that's in front of you. Really great system to use. The downside though is that you can't switch to traditional cruise control. So it's essentially just going to be your adaptive cruise control system instead. But if you want to walk through on how the adaptive cruise actually works in person, check down in the description of the video for that walkthrough instead. And then you've also got, like I said, the lane centering system, which is so good. And then you've got a series of other buttons there. So these two guys are going to let you go through the cluster screen. So on the cluster itself, there are a ton of different functions available. So you've got your speedometer off to the left-hand side, tachometer off to the right side. You've also got your outside temperature, current odometer reading, and then you've got your current fuel level along the very top. You can also use the scroll wheel here to go between a few different options. So these are essentially going to be your fueling options, but there are unique pages available. So on your current trip, that's since the vehicle was last turned on, and then turned off, I should say, and then turned back on again. And then dropping down into your since refueling. So since the last time you refueled the vehicle, what's your fuel economy been like? And then since your last reset. So think of that like your total trip one counter instead. So since the car was last turned on, since you last refueled, and your total accumulated info until you reset. So all you're gonna do, if you wanted to reset, just press and hold in order to reset that back up to 0 instead. So very straightforward. And then you might also see this little indicator button, so the bar along the very bottom. And that one as of right now is showing 0 because we're averaging 0.0 liters per 100. But on this one, it's kind of in between. So it's averaging 8 liters per 100. So you're gonna notice the dial down in the middle there is going to kind of slide backwards or forwards, just depending on what the total fuel economy is that you're getting at this point in time. So that one is a little bit dynamic. Next pages button, that's going to give you a series of different settings available, and that's going to be things through the infotainment system. And as you do that, tons of different options, driving convenience, safety convenience, and things like that. You can adjust the screen layout a tiny little bit. So there are 3 unique modes that you can kind of adjust between inside of the cluster screen. Ignore the crazy wonkiness. It does not look like that in person. It's the difference in frame rate. So you can either link it to your drive mode if you want to. So as you use the selector switch down the middle, you can have it link out to whatever the mode is there that you've selected. But let's say if you love the red look for the sport mode, you could permanently lock it in to any of the other modes that are available instead. But yeah, there's so many different options inside the screen. But like I said, if you want a full walk through the infotainment system, you'll find that down in the description of the video. From there, there's also this option, and that's going to be for which wheel is getting which amount of power. So there are essentially bars on each side. So as you go to speed up, slow down, etc., you're going to notice that each wheel has a different amount of power as you go. And this one's the all-wheel drive version. So obviously if you were front-wheel drive, it would just be the 2, but because we're all-wheel, it would be all 4. And then scrolling down into tire pressure. So tire pressure, you can see there, front left one is a little bit off, but they're pretty well balanced all around. So that's the basics of it. The screen itself is very simple, even when you get into the larger option instead.